I have an issue with active items and how unbalanced I think a lot of them are, and how creative one side of the active items are and how uncreative they are on the other side. I think currently the magical protection actives are just so insanely busted in comparison to any other of the active items for anyone. I think there's like one or two good ones for like mages, one or two good ones for hunters. Tanks have a lot of good ones. Assassins have no good active items, but I'm going to talk about that in a bit. I want to focus on magical defense items at first. Their stats are unreal. Their passives are great. There's like no downside to a lot of these items. Screeching Gargoyles, no health. That's kind of like the issue with this one, but it still has a lot of value and it's still good a lot of the times. It's good protections and it's CDR. Now, on the other hand, Talisman of Purification. It's the same amount of protections, 5 less, but it's also giving you health and it's also giving you cooldown. And then it's also giving you and allies CC immunity. Just insanely busted. Another one, Phoenix Feather. Very good for survivability. Downside of this one, though, countered by anti-heal. I do think anti-heal is a little weak right now. Actually, by a little weak, I think it is very weak. But Phoenix Feather in a game where there's no anti-heal, or in a game where you can get out of anti-heal either the aura or not get hit by an ability of Divine or Brawlers, whatever, and then use Phoenix Feather. Phoenix Feather is so good. I think this one's creative and fun. I think this one's cool and creative and fun. And then I think Talisman of Purification is cool, creative, and fun. Perfect. Comparing it to the physical protection side of things, though, Stampede. I mean, I guess it's creative, but it's not very fun. And the stats of it are just like fine. And there's just never really a reason that you like want to go this item, especially in solo lane. In support, like sometimes you want to just sprint at the enemy. Sure. It's just whatever. Nemean. Terrible. Not creative, not fun, because it doesn't do damage. It's either going to be OP and it does damage, or it's not OP and it's just useless. And those are the only two true physical active items. There's a few like flex ones that have both. Like Pharaoh's Curse, busted, way too low of a cooldown, super OP. Hussar's Wings, very low cooldown, very good. I like this one. I think it's actually really balanced. Helm of Darkness, not good, bad. Like way too expensive. The stats aren't there for what you want on an item. Like an item like this should be all intelligence, and then like it should be like 100 intelligence, very few protections, if that, maybe some health, and then it should not be this expensive. It is very fun though, and it is very creative. It's just not balanced at all. Glorious Pridwin, like I don't know what it is with this item. It is a fine item at this point, but maybe I just think it's boring because it's basically just ripped from Smite 1. It is fine, I guess. I just don't think it's creative. I don't think it's very fun, but it's doable. I have the Storm, awesome. 10 out of 10. Nothing wrong with this one. I think it's statted well. I think it's maybe a little weak, but I also think the effect is so strong. It's so hard to get away from an Eye of the Storm. And then Eye of Providence, it's a ward thing. Is it fun? No. Is it needed? Yes. Fine. And then Ammonite Charm, it was just broken on release. Now it's pretty balanced, but it's just, you never really want to go it. But those are the tank ones. The hunter ones and the assassin ones are the ones I want to talk about next. The problem, we'll talk about both of these at the same time. Avatar's Parachute and then Dreamer's Idol. They're never going to be balanced. They're just so bad. A small buff for a small amount of time that was on way too long of a cooldown. It's still on a really long cooldown. The stats on it are just mediocre, especially this one. 95 intelligence is all you're getting from this one. Granted, the effect, the active is a lot better for intelligence because you're usually going to have more. They're just not good. You need something else on these, or you need that strength or that intelligence stat to be through the roof. Bloodforge is useless for assassins. It's not good. It's really not very good for hunters either. It's also really weak right now. Dagger Frenzy, viable for hunters, and it's good. Perfect. Good one. Death Metal. I think it's fine currently. Just probably a little underwhelming. It's just stats is really all you're popping it for, but that's kind of Dagger Frenzy also. This is the only assassin item in the entire game that is inactive. And it is a 2,900 gold item for 55 strength and 15 cooldown rate. And all it does is, not like all it does, because it's a very powerful effect. It is very strong. But outside of this item, and even then, it's so expensive. It's 2,900 gold for an item that is tiny bit of cooldown, decent strength, or good strength, and then one time in a fight, you get to reduce your cooldowns. There is not a single other assassin item in the game that they can use as an active that's making them more of an assassin. There are items that they can build that make them better jungling. Building a lot of these items as a jungler is probably fine, but there's not a single one that makes an assassin better at assassinating or assassin better diving in fights. And I think there's a big missed opportunity for there to be more assassin items in the game. And I think it's unfortunate that they have to rush out more gods, because there is like a big niche of active items missing, but assassins just have nothing. Mages have two things that are okay. They have Jade Scepter and they have Staff of Mirrodin. Jade Scepter, more defensive peel option. Staff of Mirrodin, more aggressive, or I guess it could be defensive option also. Scepter of Dominion, Lifebinder, very fun items, but mostly for tanks. Like, most of these things are just really good for tanks. Tanks have so many good options, and every other role has one, maybe two. And yeah, Bloodbound Book got I don't even know. This item is just like fine, but it's like survivability more than anything. Everything else, Circe's Hexstone kind of got nerfed really hard. It's in an okay spot, I guess, now, but you can't like combo with it, so it's not as fun. Scepter of Dominion can be fun, has its upsides, has its downsides, sure. But my issue is just there's no assassin actives, and I think assassins currently are the most boring class, I would say. Like, you compare a lot of the classes. I think hunters are pretty meh too. I think mages are really fun right now. I think a lot of the solos can be pretty fun. I think, what's the other one? Supports. I think there's a good amount of fun supports. And I think a lot of it comes down to they have fun actives to play around with. Assassins and hunters are not very fun right now. ADCs were fun for a bit when they had crit. Now crit's been gutted. They're not fun, but they at least had a time to shine. Assassins have had nothing. They still don't have anything. Yes, they had Susano and they have Fenrir, but Fenrir wasn't even played by them. It was played by other roles. Loki, I mean, like the gods can be fun, sure, but the roles don't have anything exciting about them that like makes them feel different. And I mean, even then, ADCs have crit. They had crit. Doesn't really make them much more fun. But like actives are like the big thing for Smite 2. And there's just not enough fun actives for backliners, I think. The stats have to be so good for them to even consider buying some of these things. And you just can't for most of them. And it's unfortunate that they have to try to get more gods in because there's... Oh, Sunbeam Bow for ADCs is fun. This is a good item. This is fun. Sunbeam Bow is very fun. So at least they have like something that they can kind of play around with that is enjoyable. But yeah, I hope that they maybe take a half step back and maybe try to add some items. I know they're focused on gods, but yeah, I just... Actives are really unbalanced for some things and then really boring for other things. As we get more pet-based gods in the game, we should get a subset of items specifically for those summons to utilize. Sure. I'd be down. I'd be down for just about anything. There's a lot of fun things that I think that there could be fun. There could be things for kits to make like comboing better. Like my idea for an assassin active item was your first ability slows the enemy by like 15% for a second or two. Your next ability, if you hit them while they're still slowed, does more damage. Like that is a cool thing for good players to make really good use of that won't be super OP for players that aren't as good, for like really combo oriented gods. Or after they get a kill, they pop this active and they get like a value somewhere else. Something to make full damage characters feel a bit more fun. Because again, frontliners have so many fun actives. Like when I play solo, when I play support and jungle, I'll like mess around with going like Circe's Hexstone and stuff like that. Scepter of Dominion. Like I know they're not very good, but they're fun to use. And in mid lane, you just can't do that. Like Jade Scepter is the quirkiest you can get, or Mirrodin. In ADC, the quirkiest you can get is going like Sunbeam Bow. Yamoja. Bloodforged Blade, instead of its current effect, it's stored blood from each kill, stacking the shield and movement speed buff up to a certain amount. Yeah, that stuff like that is cool. I think that they just have to get creative with active items. I'm excited to see what they do. It's just going to be months and months out, which is unfortunate.